Yeah, that's what happened on Sunday. I did Brett and Joel's podcast, and they're like their goal, like keep them nice and succinct. And the first two had been like 45 minutes. Yeah, this one was about an hour and 45, I think.
Has that come out yet?
I think it comes out today. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Today being Tuesday.
I'll make sure I give it a share. I actually didn't realize that Brett. Did you say Brett and Jack?
Brett and Joel.
Oh, Brett
Joel
and Joel.
Tobin, right?
Yeah, awesome, man.
And,
is that a part of Pulse?
No, it's they're kind of their own thing. I mean, they obviously both. I mean, Brett's a part owner in Pulse, and Joel coaches for Pulse. But I think this is their own little baby, and I think they've been wanting to do it for a long time, and they've finally got around to do it. And I listened to the first couple of episodes, and really, really love it. I mean, I obviously know them both really well, so I generally I generally listen to. Well, actually, so I generally don't listen to running podcasts because I feel like I have enough running in my life as it is. But I do listen to my mates. So and I really like their chemistry. They've got a really good chemistry, and I think they're onto a winner.
Yeah, awesome, man. No, that's good. I actually don't know Joel Tobin White really well. I've heard his name pop up, all over the shop because I know he's a quality runner. But in terms of if I bumped into him down the street, I don't even know if I would recognize him. But I know, Brett was on here sort of early-ish in the piece, and I went out to his place on the other side of the Westgate Bridge, wherever. I can't remember what it was called. Do you know where?
He was over like Williamstown way for a little while. But now he's back in like East Melbourne now, I think.
Oh, okay. That's right. Actually, I think he moved to Richmond just before I moved out. But man, in terms of just chemistry and being a good bloke to chat to, I can imagine a podcast would suit him beautifully, because I had a ball just talking shop with him and picking his brain about marathon training. And but that's even that's been a little while, man. We're just saying before I hit record, it seems to be a little bit of a theme of mine and your friendship, that what's that been? Just like that 3 months without even as much as a hello. Jesse,
you know what it is?
What is it?
I think it's, you and I are very similar in this respect. I think both of our brains are pretty frantic and disorganized. No disrespect intended. but I think we're both a bit frantic, disorganized, always doing something, always like got ideas, and then we just things get away from us, and I feel like that's both of us. But it's great because we sit down now and it's like no time's passed.
It's so true. Yeah, I was for those of you listening, I was sitting at home last night going, all right, this is ridiculous. I'm going to message you today. I'm going to message you and try and catch up. This week was my goal. And then when you said you're having your wisdom teeth out on, is it tomorrow? I thought, all right,
Thursday.
I'm getting in before that, because I don't know how long you can't talk with wisdom teeth. After they've been
I'm sure I'll be able to talk, but I might not be as chipper and chirpy.
Mate, what's been going on?
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. I mean, running's just kind of ticking along. Although, having said that, I sustained a bit of an injury at Zatopek, it's now meant I've got to have a couple of weeks off running, which is a bit annoying, but it's also the longest I've gone without an injury. So I'm grateful for that. And bummed not to be running, but it's nice weather, and I think I've got so many other things going on that it kind of I still am getting some excitement from each day, and feeling reasonably fulfilled, which for a lifetime that's what running's done. But and then last week I just finished up at actually, I don't know if you could actually say I have a main job. I have lots of little side hustles, and I finished up one of my side hustles, which was working in a private practice out in Blackburn, which was a hard thing to give up. But yeah, I think it was the right decision, and all in earnest of chasing some of these things that I'm trying to build at the moment, which is like a bit of a business and just a venture, I guess. Just I guess I'm trying to I'm very, very, very millennial and very selfish, and but I'm trying to build the life that I want to live, which is I love running, so I want to keep doing that, and I love having the flexibility of being able to travel, so I want to keep doing that. So I left work for 6 months last year to travel, and I want to be able to take some work with me and keep supporting myself and so forth. So kind of building something that's allows me to live the lifestyle I want to lead, but also I think just kind of ticks all the boxes for the things that really fulfill me, touch my heart, touch my spirit, and the things that I get joy from, and sense of purpose, I guess. So that's kind of what I'm working on.
I was going to say, I think I know what it is that you're working on, but it's been a little while, so I'm not convinced I do. So obviously, I've been reading a lot of your Tempo Journal articles.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen you seem to have made a lot more of a shift, a bit of a jump into the world with them. And then also I don't know the name of it, I don't know the details of it well enough yet, but you've given me a little bit of an overview of what you're trying to create in the world of running. But in terms of what you are putting together, man, what are these new sort of ventures you're referring to?
Yeah, well, so I mean, one thing I started, which some people will know of, I started a community run, just kind of in my local neighborhood. It was inspired in large part by, I think, a shift in running culture, the world over, but particularly in Melbourne, and a much needed shift, I think, in running culture that I think is across the board a lot more inclusive, and I think across the board is just I think resonates with people's values more, which is just these community-based runs which are open to anyone, not this kind of tribal club versus club type thing, which it's still great that we have that, but I don't think that meets the needs of everyone and of all runners, and certainly for a lot of runners, it doesn't even cross their conscience to think about racing and stuff like this. So there's a lot of groups and community runs around, and inspired by that, I wanted to do one too, and so I started I started a run in Brunswick, which starts and finishes at a brewery on a Friday afternoon, evening, and we're five runs in now, so we're the sixth run this week, and I think it's just I guess the background for the development of the community run was that I started something called the Northside Collective, which I guess now, I guess it's a company, so it's my company, I guess. But it was basically my way of kind of compiling, putting in a box all the things and activities and tasks and jobs and things that I like doing and want to do, and try and turn it into kind of a community-based venture, and the community runs the first part of that, and it's just been I don't really do anything with it. I just say that it's on, and people show up, and I'm always thrilled to see new people each week, and meet new people, and I think it's the same for everyone else, and it just has a good vibe, and the run's just becoming whatever it is. I you know, I think what I launched it as, and my mission for the Northside Collective, which is, I guess, you know, I'm trying to inspire and support people's health holistically, or the Northside Collective is trying to do that. And you know, I see health as multidimensional, and you know, for me, running has been something in my life that's allowed me to touch into each of those dimensions, and I just wanted to I guess share that with people, and you know, I'm sure down the track, like, that will kind of I think that's probably maybe to a certain extent attracted certain people to the run, just kind of my vision for what it is. But at the end of the day, it's just a run on a Friday afternoon that finishes with a beer, which I think most people, a lot of people would enjoy. And even if you don't like beer, it's there's non-alcoholic beverages as well. And I think that the point of it is yes, to do the run, because running feels good, and it's a nice way to end your week. But more than that, it's about gathering at the end and kind of fostering and building a sense of community, which I think, yeah, you combine that with running, and now you're starting to tap into like multi dimensions of people's health and well-being. And that's what it is. It's just a run.
That's cool.
That finishes and everyone meets up and has a drink, and then all the other stuff that, you know, I want Northside to be, and hopefully what it will become is, work in progress, I guess.
5 runs in, did you say?
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. So how are people finding out about it? You you put the word out there relatively early, and then like, are you advertising it at all, or you just seeing who rocks up?
I mean, I guess it's interesting. I kind of just promoted it on social media, and you know, I had I had some the actual launch was absolutely made possible by some absolutely gun photography from Riley Wolf. So he did a little photo shoot for us, and then, you know, just friends and family kind of sharing it and promoting it, and it's just kind of made the rounds, and word of mouth, I guess, as well. And yeah, each week we've been getting like 10, 15 people, which I like. I think it's actually like a really nice number, because it's you know, you get to the end and it's not so many that you can't actually like all sit together and all share stories and all kind of feel connected, as opposed to being like, you know, potentially a lot bigger, and then you have like little groups and things like that, which both are good, but I'm kind of liking it like it is at the moment, kind of a little bit on the small, like a manageable, smaller size scale.
Yeah, nice, man. How far are you guys running?
It's if you run to and from the brewery and do a lap of Princess Park, it's 6 kilometers. And yeah, it's I guess the thing that we're working on and trying to, I guess, like get the feel right, is just that I want it to be as inclusive as possible. I don't want people to feel that they can't come because they can't keep up, or it's too slow or it's too fast. I don't want it to be about that, but me wanting that is that's what I want. But like actually realizing that intention, we're kind of working on it and making sure that people do feel welcome. But yeah, at the moment it's we make it pretty clear at the start, like there's no you can run or walk as fast or as slow as you like, and we just, when we all get back, you know, we don't get a drink until everyone's back. So just really highlighting that it's about, you know, coming together at the end as, you know, runners, and it doesn't matter how fast or slow you are.
Yeah, very nice, man. No, that's good. Dude, I wanted to ask you about your injury that you mentioned you got during the end of Zetterpet, because I watched the race today, and I watched the race. I watched the last 5 laps, and you still looked good with 5 laps to go. You still looked good when you crossed the finish line. Like I know you're within almost within arm's reach of the victory.
Yeah.
But if you hadn't have said anything, I would have had no idea that anything had gone wrong. So like injury front, what went wrong there? Congratulations, by the way. It was a great race.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, it was good, and Jack's obviously in phenomenal shape. So he was a very worthy winner. But yeah, I just 10K in spikes. Having I wear spikes once a week to do my strides. But I just do strides on the 100-meter straights at the track, and I think just all the running around the bends, my inside foot, it just kind of jammed up against my talus, which is the bone underneath your ankle. And after the race, I just thought that I was like a bit regular soreness, stiffness. But yeah, like 5 days of jogging, and it just wasn't really getting any better. And then I was about to try a session and did some faster strides, and it just didn't feel right. So I just decided to have a few days off and at that point I kind of knew what it was. But I just to be sure and get a bit of certainty around like time frame. I had a scan, and it was a little bit of bone bruising on like real low grade bone bruising on their talus, and so it'll just mean another couple of weeks of no running just to let it settle down, and then should be able to ease back into it again. But yeah, a bit annoying because we're obviously getting into the domestic season now, so that'll probably interrupt things with that a little bit. But it doesn't change my goals for the year, and it is what it is, and you just easier said than done, and a lesson it's taken me a long time to learn, but you just go with the flow, and that's my reality at the moment. And I will run again in a couple of weeks. It'll be all okay.
Yeah, nice, man. What do you got your eyes set on for this year? Are you planning to get over to Europe anytime soon?
So I think so I would love to try and qualify for World Champs. I want to do a 10K. So at this stage, I'll probably go to the US in April and do a bit of altitude training, and then run a 10K in May, and then of course I'll do some 5Ks as well, and hopefully I can run well in both of them. I really would like to run a 10K PB this year. It was kind of the one race I didn't do last year, so and I was in good shape last year, so before my old body packs it in, I want to try and get a 10K PB as well.
Awesome, man. Awesome. What is your 10K? Actually, I'm going to be able to tell you this. 26. Is it 26:47? Sorry, 27:47.
Oh, mate, I wish it was 26:47.
I wish it was 26:47 as well. As the numbers were coming out of my mouth, I thought, hang on, something feels off with this phrase. What is it?
So 27:45. Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, I have to, if I want to go to World Champs, I have to run quicker than that anyway. So, and I know I can. Absolutely. But yeah, it's actually doing it. Knowing you can do something and actually doing it are two different things. And, it also will, getting the timing right and right day and favorable conditions, all those things play a part in it. But, that's my goal for this year, is try to get to World Champs. And,
Is the Commonwealth Games on this year?
Yeah, Commonwealth Games as well. So I guess
dude, it's a big year. When you said World Champs, because I hadn't even thought about World Champs, and I hadn't looked too far into when the actual Commonwealth Games were. But just then, got thrown off because I was like, hang on a second,
they're only
Games 1 year. That's a big couple of months.
Yeah, well, no, they're only like a week or two apart. So I mean, if I qualify for well, if I hit the qualifier, I'm kind of qualified for both. So yeah, but I guess in my head, I'm really I really want to go to World Champs, just because it's kind of, it seems so strange. I've actually only ever been to one track World Champs, and that was back in 2009. And then every time World Champs comes around, I'm either injured or one year I missed it by 0.01 of a second, and so yeah, I want to go back to World Champs, and it's in Eugene, Oregon, which is a pretty cool place in the world of athletics, track and field, and I've had some good races there, not in the new refurbished stadium, but back in the old Hayward Field. So I kind of want to get back there.
Dude, that's exciting. When was it? 2014. I went to Eugene with Jesse because Jesse's brother lives over in Oregon in a place called Medford, and we took the day trip out to the old track, and I just cut 3 laps there of the old track and was mind blown without any atmosphere. Then I saw the redone track with a full stadium and thought, oh my gosh, like I didn't think the athletics vibe in Eugene could get much better than what it already was. But I reckon they've done something special with the new outfit as well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a little bit sad to lose the kind of the historic old Hayward Field, but it's obviously like an amazing new stadium, and that town in particular just has a real connection to the sport of track and field, and so it does have a vibe. It does have a vibe there, and I think and even for you, like no one in the crowd and just running around, like you would have felt something.
I was so pumped. I was so pumped. I thought I was Prefontaine.
There's a vibe there, it's pretty cool.
That's pretty insane, man. So did you say, was your original plan to go over to the States first or go to Europe first, or are you sort of just playing as it comes at the moment?
To the States first, and then States first, and then I assume probably to Europe after that to do some other races, and then depending on whether I get to World Champs or Com Games, then onto that afterwards.
Man, some of the Aussie boys over in America at the moment are traveling along pretty nicely. Huh? I was watching Ollie Hall the other day go around for the indoor mile record. Have you been paying much attention to what he's up to over there?
Yeah, he's flying. He had obviously that winning the Wanamaker Mile, and he's he ran a good 5K, in December, I think, as well. He's smashing it.
I was watching Josh Kerr come around with, there was about 500 meters to go at the Wanamaker Mile. And I thought Josh Kerr, just based on his sort of history in 1500 meter running, now an Olympic bronze medalist, thought, it's going to be hard to run away from this bloke. But he's deceptive. He's such a smooth mover, isn't he, Ollie Hoare? But it kind of trips you out just how quickly he's running. Like when I know he's a 1500 meter man, but to see him run 350, I thought, hang on, he looks like he just could have kept on operating at that kind of pace. He's hit some pretty special form the last 18 months.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think he's the whole package. He's obviously unbelievably talented. He absolutely works his ass off. Just knowing a little bit about their group and their coach, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. It's like the trifecta. But it's great to see.
How's Morgan going? I think he might be out at the moment with a little niggle as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his current status is, but he certainly he was certainly a bit banged up after Tokyo, and so he's obviously not doing much or not racing at the moment, but I'm not actually, it's been a while since I've caught up with him. So that's a reminder. I'll send Morgan a message after this. See how it's going.
He's a funny character, man. Anyone who doesn't know Morgan, check out he's got a good little YouTube channel. I don't know if we've spoken about it before, but he was explaining that the life of a distance runner, it's great, but it's also really boring. So he started this channel just to use as a bit of a creative outlet. And he's actually he's pretty good behind the camera. I think he's got a podcast that I see he's got up and running at the moment called The Coffee Club with a group of locals. So it seems to touch on running and a whole heap of other stuff. So for those of you who are interested in the American running scene, especially, you need to go check that out. But have you spent much time with him? Because I had him on here for an hour once and really enjoyed talking to him.
He's one of my favorites. Yeah, I've spent quite a bit of time with him over the years. Both at Falls Creek and then we roomed together on a few different trips. And he's one of my faves. He's a good fella.
How are the local boys going? How's your crew traveling at the moment?
Yeah, everyone's, I think, going pretty well now. I think, COVID took a bit of a toll on a few people, but I think most people are kind of through that. And obviously I haven't been there for the last 2 weeks, so I feel like I've probably lost a little touch of how everything's going. But before that, everyone's going well.
Yeah, it was good to see Jack getting back out there, and I know he's a mate of yours, but you're also in the world of running. It's quite competitive. So sorry to rub any salt in the wound, but it was good to see a bloke of his caliber getting back to his stripes as well over the last couple of weeks.
Like after
he struggled a bit with injury as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean he was carrying a stress here in Tokyo, and so that was a real bummer for him. And but yeah, he's bounced back really well, and he obviously took me down in the half marathon in December, and then did the same at Zatopek. I laugh about it now, but like I don't know, like 3 or 4 laps to go, I was just sitting in and I was feeling really good and like controlled, and was like, sweet, we're all good here, and then Jack just does this like little wave with his hand for me to come around. And I just like I had no intention of going around. Like I was, it's a race, and you try and play to your strengths. But like, I just like Jack and I, and obviously all that group, we're training together so much. And that's what we do is like, we train really hard. And so in order to get through those training sessions, everyone has to do their bit. And I just like, there was just this automatic reaction in my head. Like, Jack's asked me to go to the front. Yep, too easy, I'll do that. And then I just like, and as soon as I did, I was like, what are you doing, Dave? Like, this is a race.
What part of the race was that?
Yeah, that was Zatopek.
Sorry, how far into it?
Oh, yeah, it must have been like 3 or 4 laps to go, I think. And as soon as I went around, I was like, oh, that was silly. But like, if you're going to hit the front, like you got to do something with it. So I picked up the pace, but I could see I wasn't having any impact on Jack. So I just thought, nah, like I don't, if I can't shake him now, then I want to at least make sure I'm good for the last lap. So I just I let him go back around again. But I think probably just the relatively warm evening, and I was definitely dehydrated. Like just that little spurt, like it sent my body temperature like through the roof. And I went from being like super under control, like ready for a nice little kick down, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh shit, I've run out of gears here. And then across the line, I couldn't see straight for like 5 minutes. I was so like dizzy and overheated. But it was I'm kicking myself. I just kind of like I flinched, and Jack baited me, and it was a good move.
That's so fun. I can see how that happens as well. I know that feeling of running around with a group of guys and just giving a friendly little wave as if to say, hey, all right, carry some of the weight. I could imagine being stuck in a race situation and doing it before I realized what was going on as well. Did you dodge the wind that night? Because I know Lakeside can be pretty brutal in the
it was windy, but like not as like it could have been a lot worse. It's definitely been worse there, but yeah, the back straight was pretty breezy.
Yeah, okay. So how much does your training vary for a race like Zatopek as it does going into a race like the Melbourne Half? Are you
not much,
I know,
really.
but I had a feeling you might say that, because I know Bordeaux especially has got a reputation for, or in my mind, he seems to have a reputation for just being miles and miles and miles. Like Stewie's a great example of that run. I know he ran 3:31 off not a whole heap of fast work. So I'm only going to assume the same thing was true when he ran 3:29. But are you are you adjusting your long runs and stuff much between a 10K and a half, or is it always pretty?
Not really. Yeah, no, not really. And yeah, absolutely. There's a commonality in what we're all doing under Nick's tutelage, guidance. But yeah, how I train and how some of the other guys train is probably quite different. Like my mileage is probably quite a bit lower than a lot of the guys in the group. Joel's probably on the lower side like me as well. And everyone I think is probably tapers a little bit differently as well. Nick and I guess have figured out for me that like I do better with a little less mileage. And then in terms of getting ready for the races, yeah, it's the same. Not much changes because I think we're doing the sort of training that touches on all of the systems that are active in across a range of distances. So you're kind of ready for everything. And 10K and a half marathons, not a whole lot of difference. Probably doing a few faster laps on the track on a Tuesday, in the last month compared to before the half marathon. And we'll do more faster stuff as the season goes on, doing more, 5Ks and 3Ks and things like that. But, 95% of the training doesn't really change. And for me, like getting ready for any race, well, not any race, some races I might just like the week of might shorten a few runs or something. And then some races I might like for 2 weeks, just like, maybe shorten a few of the long runs and things like that. But not a lot changes from race to race and distance to distance.
It's interesting you mentioned the taper because I've sort of noticed that seems to be the one element, because I've always gone on about how Australian training in general is really similar. And I know like there's some fairly common comparisons that you can make in the world of distance running, but I reckon the broadest differences in so many Australian distance runners training is in that week or two out from a race. I was always the kind of guy who I really enjoyed training with a fairly relative or fairly comparable load to what I would usually do. And then, as you said, that week out, I might just adjust some of the longer runs or take off a rep or two from the Ks or whatever it was that I was doing. But I had a mate, Kale Simons, who back in the day, he used to swear by, he'd have 3 days completely off before a 1500 meter race. Yeah. And it just managed to work for him. And for me, if I got to a start line with 3 days off, just psychologically, I'm like, all right, I don't quite feel ready for this. But have you noticed that? Like, do you notice there's a fair bit of a wiggle room in terms of people's approach to that taper, whether it's a week or two out?
Absolutely. And it's not even just limited to taper. It's all the training. I think, one of the barriers, I think, and you just touched on it there, is that, with any of these things, any sort of training, we focus so much on your physical preparation, but it is balancing all those other factors like your mind as well, and just your general sense of well-being and balance in your life and things like that. And that is absolutely different for everyone. But there is such a cultural element to how we train, and you touched on that as well. As there's a cultural element to how Australians train. Like for a lot of people, for a long time, like it was so heavily influenced by what Ron Clark did and Deeks did and Mona did, and these 3 sessions a week, and these long Sunday long runs and all of this, and elements like that persist, and it's same with any training, like the traditional Lydiard style training, like things like that persist. But everyone is different, but also as humans we're 99.99% the same as well. So there is absolutely a lot in training that it doesn't really matter. It's gonna work in some way, shape, or form for everyone. But it's a balancing act. You're balancing the physical, you're balancing the mental, you're balancing, age and experience. And I think one of the biggest ones that you're probably balancing is confidence. And it absolutely takes confidence, one, to make any changes to something that you've done for a long time. And two, it takes confidence to back off and let your body rest, let your body recover. Takes confidence to go, I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to get unfit, all these tapers and things like that. And then again, there's the other element of, just what's the race and what time of the year is it? How you taper for an Olympic final is probably different to how you're tapering for, a 3-week stretch where you've got 5 races or something. You can't taper for every single race, but your training's got to be modified during that period. And so you're balancing all of these things, but, at the end of the day, there are styles and systems that will suit most people with a few tweaks, and making those tweaks takes a bit of experimentation, takes a bit of experience, and it takes some confidence to make changes where necessary.
Yeah, no, well said, man. How have you been navigating the, what do you say? What's the word I'm looking for? I've got calendar stuck in my head, but we touched on at the start of the chat. You were saying that, you've got your Northside run, you've got your riding and everything that you're doing at the moment, like a couple of new little experiences sneaking in there. Have you been going through any sort of transition period of trying to figure out where it all fits and how it all fits? Or
hugely. And one of the things I'm working on, which I'm doing with a business partner, is and when you're doing something with someone else, it's you've got more than yourself to think about, and organization is not a skill or a practice that I'm very good at, but I do find that the best way for me to be organized is to be busy.
Me too.
So if I'm busy, then more stuff generally gets done. And not to mention the whole, being busy and having some balance and is just good for my mind as well. It's part of, on a very surface level, it's part of how I probably manage my anxiety.
Yeah, for sure. What through keeping busy?
Yeah. And because I think if you think about it, when you're busy, you're spending relatively more time in the present moment, because if you're busy, your time and attention is spent on tasks that need to be done in that moment. Whereas when you're not busy, there's more time to where your mind is spending either in the past, regretting or worrying, or in the future worrying. And so, so that's kind of I guess the slightly below the surface of why it's good to be busy, I think, for me at least, because that's something I always struggle with, and is always something that I have to be pretty proactive about.
That's a good point. That's the other thing that I enjoy about I feel like I'm in this constant dance between, all right, do I want to live the most simple life and just have so much free time up my sleeve? Or do I want to just be a little bit emotionally separated from a lot of what I do, but not emotionally separated, just not so emotionally vulnerable based on whether it's going well or going poorly. Yeah. What I like about the times when I'm busy and I've actually my time counts for something is you don't have as much time to be able to if I've got all day and all I need to do is go shopping, then I've got all day to decide when I want to get it done. And it just feels like the biggest task in the world. Whereas if I've got a 15-minute break and I'm like, all right, I got to go get those groceries now. It's like, all right, well, you just go and get them now. So often, I think what I'm trying to say. No, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I don't have this problem, but I know enough people that are in this situation. You throw in a child into the mix, and the need to be efficient and organized. The need to be efficient is just astronomically higher.
I've noticed that. It's funny you say it, man. Like that's one I don't know if we've talked about it before, but one thing I often look at in my life, it's like, all right, so I wake up when little mate gets up at 7, and then it's like, all right, I got to do dad duty for an hour there, and then you just feel like every element of your day is just taken care of, like, or it's just filled up. Because even I told you that we'll record here for an hour, and then I'm on dad duty again tonight. So it's like that's one thing people used to say before Charlie was born. It's like, dude, you're gonna absolutely love being a parent, but you're also going to have times where you're like, oh my gosh, what did I used to do with all my spare time? I was like, okay, mate. I just thought people were having a sook because they were terrible at managing their time. So not like true.
I'm just thinking, like, when you get that, like, because I have this all the time, like just an urge and a need to just like be on your own for a moment. and just like, just literally be on your own with nothing there, just you and your thoughts, or not your thoughts, whatever the case may be. You probably don't get that as much.
That's probably one thing. And dude, like the just for Charlie when he's 25 and he listens back to his dad when he was younger, the highs of it obviously way outweigh any of the lows. But at the same time, I'm the same as you, man. Like it's amazing how much we have in common. Sometimes I just need someone not to be screaming in my ear, and me just to sit on the couch and relax. So it is, it's definitely something I can appreciate. But in a strange kind of way, it has forced me in many respects just to think more carefully about where it is I commit my time to, because I guess it makes sense as well. Like if you've only got limited amount of time to commit to certain things, then you want to be bloody careful that what it is you're committing to are the things you really want to do, because
absolutely,
if you fill that hour with something that you wish you didn't, that hour is only sort of coming once a day. So that's been a really helpful thing.
Yeah, for sure. I 100% resonate with that, and that's I think look at this. The injury that I've got at the moment, in many ways, was quite an acute injury, but it is a reminder that in order to stay off that knife's edge, I do have to be careful. Like, if I did have a goal that was probably most important or like at the top of the list at the moment, still, like I'd probably say getting to world champs is like my number one goal for this year. And in order for that to happen, like I do have to be a bit more methodical, and I can't, necessarily just keep saying yes and tackle, too much. Because it's kind of like there's a few different examples, but it's as simple as like, do you want to do one thing really, really well, or do you want to do 20 things like half well, or do you want to do 5 things reasonably well, and then just finding that balance. And everyone's going to be a little bit different. Some people may prefer to do 20 things like half okay, but just get all the volume. Some people may want to just do one thing and perfect it. Like you're perfectionists, so it's kind of on that perfectionist scale. And then people that are either one towards one end or towards the other. And then, I'm probably more towards the perfectionist end, but I also realize my shortfalls if I'm too single-minded, which is that I sabotage myself with, anxiety and things like that. So it's an interesting balancing act.
It's such a weird balance act as well. This is one thing I'm constantly attracted to the likes of the perfectionist. Like a couple of my closest mates, actually one of my closest mates and a bloke who used to be one of my closest mates, we just sort of grew apart based on the fact we live so far away. They're both very similar to each other. They're both photographers, and they both on that perfectionist side of things. Like they probably, if you look at what they get done you probably over the course of a week, you'd go, oh, you didn't get that much done. But what they got done looks really good. Whereas I'm a little bit of a broad net kind of guy to my own disadvantage sometimes, where I'll cast a net thick, cast a net wide, and then I'll try and bury down into a couple of projects. I'm like, hang on a second, like I've got an hour and a half to work on this. I've got 7 things that need to be done. They all feel a little bit average if you're not careful. So is that perfectionist side of thing? Is that something that you've sort of tailored and developed? Because I think, like in a lot of our personality, I would say we've got some real similarities, but that's one thing that I'd probably be a lot different to you in. I probably need to learn more about, staying focused and committing to the perfection side of things rather than just go, all right, we'll try and get all of these things pretty good.
Yeah. I think I look back on my life and it's absolutely just been something that's been with me always. And I think it was more of a liability earlier on. Now I know how to manage it a little bit better, but like there's elements of that don't leave you. And I've spent a lot of my life running at a pretty high level and surrounded by people that are running at even higher levels, and so perfectionism is something I've been surrounded by always. So it's kind of like a bit self-fulfilling almost. It's just like I think you feed off other perfectionists as well, and yeah, so it's something that's always been there for me personally, and I think it's probably like, there's, I don't know, I would say, does like being a competitive runner breed perfectionism, or does perfectionism lend itself to being a competitive or athlete? And I think it probably goes a little bit both ways. But mine probably was, I think I was a perfectionist before I was a runner.
It definitely helps the running scene. I was just thinking as you were saying that with my running training back in the day when I was still competing really seriously, perfectionism was 100% an element of that. And I think you're too quickly exposed in a sport like running if you're not a perfectionist to at least the extent that you're getting your training done consistently. It's like, oh, good luck trying to get anywhere in this sport if you're not going to rock up daily and do the work that's required, because it just demands that of you, doesn't it? But I think it's interesting. I think when you look outside of running a little bit more, and just all the things that there are to commit your time to, I think maybe an attitude the distance runner in me would be helpful just to rein it back in. But that's interesting, man. It is an interesting thing. Like I often noticed that there's a lot of OCD in the world of distance running, and probably because there are so many elements that you can adjust and critique and and change. It probably requires almost an element of that, but it definitely seems to be a personality narrowly correlation between the world of run and the of OCD.
Yeah, it's crazy, because this is exactly what I chatted to Dane Verway about a couple of weeks ago on his podcast. Again, apologize. I'm on like
dude, no apologies. No apologies to anyone. Run Culture is a great podcast. He's a great bloke as well. So
But this is what we were talking. Yeah, we were talking about that personalities and perfectionism, and the different characteristics that you come across in sport and in running in particular. There's so many similarities, but so much diversity as well.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. I was going to say I was going to say it'd be a subject we could tap into, but we should just send people to that episode. I'll put it in the show notes so people who might want to hear more about that can hear it. But just for my own selfish reasons, I'm curious, what were a couple of the common personality traits that you reckon you guys noticed in there? Do you remember?
Oh man, now you're putting me on the spot. Now this is the problem. Like I doing my brain's all over the place now, so I forget stuff quickly. But we talked about perfectionism for sure, and we talked about different like personality profiles that you can do to kind of like get a sense for these things, and we were talking about it, I guess, a little bit from a physio perspective, a little bit from a running perspective, and how understanding elements of personality is valuable in order to one get the most out of yourself, but I think, or I know also, in order to connect with people, and to foster a connection and trust between people, understanding and knowing elements of personality, I think, probably play into that a little bit. And that's, as a physio, like that's the single most important thing for me is connecting with the person in front of me and making them feel, not making them, but fostering a setting where they feel safe, where they feel like they can be honest and open, and where they feel listened to. Like when you do all those things, then you get to know the person a little bit better and what makes them tick, and knowing that stuff's important, as I said, for connection and for yourself as well.
Yeah, it's interesting actually hearing you talk about that, because I think before I was doing my own thing, I was a high school teacher, and one of the most important things with connecting with the kids in the world of PE I was in was getting a bit of an understanding of, their strengths, their weaknesses, their confidence levels. It always made it so much easier to deliver a lesson to a kid when you knew what it was they responded to. So, it is interesting. I never really thought about the fact that, of course, as a physio, someone who's treating injuries, you want the person to, feel as though not only do you know what you're doing, but you appreciate what it is they're going through and how they respond. It's it's not a one size fits all scene, is it?
No, not at all. And people have different beliefs, different expectations. And they're all important things. Like it's there's no, you can't look at everything through like these individual pillars. Like, man, I feel like I got to shut up about it, but I keep saying, like, everything's connected, and like getting to know and understand how things are connected is and how we make sense of the world and how we make sense of each other, and how we get the most out of each other and get the most out of being part of a community and things like that.
Yeah, no, well said, man. Dude, I'm going to let you go in a moment because it's Jessie's got COVID and she's on mum duty at the moment. So I told her I'd only give her an hour. She got no sympathy from me. I'm like, baby, you're just putting it on. She's like, remember, I know she's not. I had it last week, and I've been Mr. Tough Guy the whole way through. I'm like, man, if I get COVID, my immune system will just brush it off. Dude, last Monday, I thought I was going to die. And I was like, this is the most humbling experience. And then have you copped it yet?
No, I haven't yet.
Dude, it's so funny. I was such a little bitch with it for a day. Thank God I made a quick recovery because it was an embarrassment. So I teased.
I don't think it's embarrassing. I think it's definitely. I mean, this is why we're still talking about it 2 years later. It's no joke.
Isn't that true? I know. Despite all the jokes I've tried to make of it, it just was not funny.
Yeah, it's a massive public health problem. Yeah.
Yeah, far out.
And it's absolutely like having seen, like my mum's had it and brothers had it and sister-in-law and niece, and it's and then a bunch of people that I run with and stuff, and it's it can knock you out.
Oh my gosh.
Sure. Very humbling.
Yeah, well, I definitely went down. At least for one day, my humility got checked, and then I recovered on Tuesday. I thought, mate, look at me, look at this guy. I'm only joking, but dude, that's right. But by the time Jessie makes a full recovery, if I don't go out and take Charlie off her hands, I'm going to get in a headlock and be in a lot of trouble for a week. So I'll love you.
Yeah, I'll let you get going.
But bro, thank you so much for coming on, man. And as always, pleasure to catch up with you.